Welcome to Donus Week, which is about what I've been up to for the past 7 days, the people I've interacted with, the places I've been to, the things I've done and not done, and the thoughts I've had.
Hi, thank God it's Friday. So, this video is probably going to be rough around the edges because I'm filming it myself. And the reason I'm filming it myself is because Emmanuel, the nice young man who normally does the filming for me, is in Abuja in Nigeria, and I'm not. And the reason why I'm not in Abuja is because last weekend I jumped on a plane, and after stopping in Togo and Ghana, arrived in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone, another West African country that's English speaking. And I've been working here all week, doing some interesting stuff and meeting some interesting people and going to some interesting places. But I'm not going to tell you about Sierra Leone today. I'll save that delight for next week's video because I'll be here for another week. And I'd rather tell you about Sierra Leone, my whole Sierra Leone adventure, in one episode, so to speak. Today, I'm going to concentrate on other things like updating you on my diabetes journey, my attempts to manage and reverse this disease that can be so terribly dangerous or destructive if not taken seriously. So last week I told you that I had lost 10 kilograms because, of course, the reason why so many people get diabetes is because they're chronically overweight, and I am one of those people. So having used a combination of intermittent and extended fasting, I lost 10 kilos in 10 days. I told you that last week. Now, I was very pleased with myself because it's quite an achievement for somebody who's obsessed with sugar and food to basically not eat for 10 days or to eat very, very little. So I also experienced some highs, during that period of fasting. Some days when I felt very energetic and very mentally alert. And so, the day after I filmed last week's Donu's week video, I decided to measure myself to see how many inches I'd lost, Now, most people would know whether they'd lost inches or not because they wear normal clothes, blouses, t-shirts, jeans, skirts. But I have been floating around in voluminous kaftans for the past few years. And the thing with kaftans is, they're very forgiving. And you could put on a few inches or lose a few inches without noticing because they're baggy. Yeah? So, got out my tape measure and decided to measure myself. I was quite excited. That was last Saturday, just before I traveled to Sierra Leone, thinking, 10 kilos down, I must have lost at least a couple of inches off my bulging stomach and my hideously horrendous hips. And guess what? Not one single inch. I measured all the key vital statistics. Nada. Now, not a single inch was gone from anywhere on my body. But, so I thought, well, where did that 10 kilos go from? And my sister and a couple of other people said that they noticed that my face was thinner and that, I'd probably lost weight in weird places like shoulders, which people don't normally measure. Then I was also told by my fasting coach, Ru, that a lot of people lose a lot of internal weight initially, water weight they call it, and there's all that debris and gunge that builds up inside unhealthy people. and maybe quite a bit of visceral fat too. Visceral fat is the fat that encases your organs, especially if you have if you're the sort of person who puts weight on around your stomach rather than, let's say, hips, you're likely to have a lot of visceral fat. And if that melts away, you're not going to notice it. It's an invisible process. Okay, so I thought, well, I tried to console myself with the thought that, well, it's all part of a process. You can't expect instant results. You can't expect to suddenly look much better and suddenly, be improved on every level. But, the thing is, this week has been quite disappointing in other ways as well, because I've had absolutely no energy. In fact, I've been tired. In fact, at one point, I even thought I might have malaria. My joints hurt. I'm slow. I'm struggling to walk. And you think, hang on, I've lost 10 kilos. At least, even if I haven't lost inches, I should have detoxed significantly from the inside to the point where, things like inflammation that triggers off joint pain should have reduced. Not a bit of it. In fact, it seems to have gotten slightly worse. Now I'm told that this, in fasting circles, is known as a healing crisis. It's a good thing. It's part of the process, and you mustn't be impatient and give up because you're not feeling great every step of the way as you move away from bad habits and towards, a healthier lifestyle. Okay, so even though I stopped fasting last week and I still didn't have any, I carried on, I soldiered on, I didn't continue to do without sugar. I also ate very little, continued to avoid carbs, only ate once a day. And then my friend Laura Angela arrives from Paris. She and I are working here in Sierra Leone together, and I'll tell you what happened next. Okay, so my friend Laura Angela arrives from Paris with a bag full of French fancies. All those pastries, those pretty little pastries packed with sugar that the French are famous for. She didn't know I had this diabetes diagnosis. She thought it was the same old Donu who just loves sweet things and would be thrilled. And of course I was very grateful, but I didn't need the temptation. But the bag stayed unopened in my hotel room for a couple of days. Finally, because I was feeling a bit down about the fact that I hadn't lost any inches, I wasn't feeling good, I succumbed to a couple of chocolate and caramel tarts, like maybe 2 chocolate and caramel tarts and 1 lemon tart. And then I thought, you know what? There's good Donu and there's bad Donu. Bad Donu has been sabotaging good Donu all your life, even before I had a weight problem. There's this part of me that's self-destructive and will always do things like, persuade me not to revise for exams. That kind of thing. So bad Donu kicks in and says, hey, look, you've got a bag full of stuff from your friend. And, you don't get to have these lovely French fancies every day. So just relax, So I started relaxing, and then good Donu kicked in. So good Donu is getting stronger and more influential. And so I stopped. I just thought, yeah, it's fine. It's fine to have your first shot of sugar after like nearly 3 weeks. Not the end of the world. No excuse to now totally abandon your plans and start misbehaving 24/7. So I stopped. And I gave away all the stuff that was left, well, in other words, most of it, to my Sierra Leonean hosts, some delightful young government officials who have been acting as my tour guides. And so they were happy. They've got kids. They went off with all those lovely little cakes and biscuits. So that's progress, is the ability to stop myself from going overboard. and not feel so full of self-hatred because I wasn't perfect. Because I'm a perfectionist in a strange kind of way. And so it's kind of like all or nothing normally. And so, you know, once you make the smallest mistakes, the whole house has to come down. No, not this time. I wasn't going to give up. So back on the straight and narrow. I can't tell you how much weight I've lost since last week because, well, there are scales in my hotel bathroom, but I'm embarrassed to say that they stop at 120 kilos and I am heavier than 120 kilos, even with the 10 kilo weight loss from last week. So if I step on those scales, I'm going to ruin them. I'm going to break them, and so I'm not going to step on them. We'll just have to wait till I get back to Abuja to find out how much weight I've lost, you know, this week, or at least whenever, since the 10 kg loss. Then what else? I'm trying to sort of like remember everything I need to remember. So my mantra now is just keep going, keep going, keep going, even in weeks when it's disappointing. Don't expect instant results. Don't expect every week to be positive. Last week was very positive. This week is not feeling very positive, but trust the process. You are going in the right direction. Do not stop for more than a few seconds here and there, if you must stop at all, okay? Something else that's worth remembering, I mean, it's not a very happy thought, but you know, we have to be realistic. There was a time when if I fasted for 3 or 4 days, all the pains in my body, the body aches would disappear. This time around, I fasted for 10 days and I still have aches and pains, and the reason is probably I am getting older. The body doesn't snap back into shape so easily anymore. It doesn't recover so easily anymore. So that's another reason why anybody out there who is messing up their body should stop messing up their body ASAP, because it gets harder and harder and harder to recover from the abuse, okay? Right, now, so let's talk about something else. First of all, a tribute, and a really, really sad tribute to my beloved cousin Charity Uchenna Obi. Her nickname was Midge, at least to me. And she called me Midge, I called her Midge. We had our reasons. And she died and was buried recently, and I'm devastated. Now, I'll tell you something about her passing later on in this video. But let's just say that I want to say that she was a great woman and that she will be sorely missed, okay? But there were a couple of happy things that happened this week, thank goodness, as well. My beloved son Oliver turned 30, and he lives in Los Angeles. And I have friends who've lost children, so if you have a child who has survived to the age of 30, it's a blessing, and I thank God for his life. And then my beloved sister Layla also had a birthday this weekend. She's in good shape, so that's wonderful. She's not much younger than me, but she looks a lot better. She's a lot fitter. So I am also very, very pleased that she's surviving so robustly. And then my friend Joy Emodi, Senator Joy Emodi, we call her. She used to be a senator here in Nigeria. Not here, sorry, there in Nigeria, because I'm not in Nigeria now. And Joy, happy birthday. It was her 70th. It's great that you've lived to a ripe old age. I'm not far behind you, actually. Very proud of you. Don't know anybody who's got anything bad to say about you. And considering that you are a Nigerian politician, that is saying something. Most Nigerian politicians are so full of crap. It's hard to find anyone who has anything good to say about them. In your case, it's the opposite. You're a wonderful woman, and now you're running a school that's doing really, really, really well. Very proud of you. Happy birthday to you, Leila and Oliver. So now we come to the section called Food for Thought. Something really strange happened. Someone sent me out of the blue a song. It was about vanishing family ties and how we don't stay in touch with people we love, especially family members. We don't do enough to maintain those bonds. I was so touched by this song, which we can't play. We can't play a clip for you because probably there are copyright issues. But it's a nice song. And I decided to send it to a few relatives whom I felt I'd neglected or who I felt had neglected me. And Charity, the cousin I told you earlier had passed away, was the very first person on my list. In fact, it's because of her that I decided to send it to anybody. And it was after I'd sent it to her that I then thought, oh, well, might as well send it to a few other cousins. But anyway, so I sent this song to Charity, only to discover, and I had this really strong desire to send it to her, only to discover that she had died just, probably a few hours before that song hit her inbox. Now, the extraordinary thing about that is that I had not been in touch with Charity Midge for a couple of years. And there have been lots of other times when, she's crossed my mind and I haven't done anything about it. And, if you're close to people, you'll remember them in 1,000 songs that you might have heard over a 2-year period. But for some reason, on that particular day, I just had this strong pull. Anyway, I sent it to her and discovered later that she was already dead. I believe that she was calling me and she was telling me goodbye or something. There was definitely some kind of spiritual connection that made me send that emotionally significant video to her. So, may she rest in peace, in perfect peace, in the bosom of Almighty God. But I want to ask Donus World viewers, do you believe that it's possible for the dead to communicate with the living? I mean, I personally have never seen a ghost before, but, I've felt spiritual presences in my life. And I remember going to see a psychic in London when I was young who told me that my Nigerian grandmother was standing behind me and was always there like a kind of guardian angel. And it was extraordinary because he also told me her name. Now, this is some old Englishman. I hadn't mentioned the fact that I had a grandmother, but he knew she was dead. He told me her name. It was bizarre. So, do you agree that there's such a thing as, the spirit world? Do you believe there's such a thing as people who were close to keeping watch over us, who are still living, people who are dead? Do you believe they can send messages? Do you believe that my cousin Charity Obi was telling me goodbye? And that was why I sent that song to her almost as an apology about a vanishing family ties and a family bond that had not been properly nurtured. Do tell me what you think. Thank you and see you next week.